those whole 8 months I wasn't sleeping. Um, but I think also my style of climbing, it's kind of built into my body at this point. Like I'm not doing volume. I don't need a ton of endurance. So like the skills that I apply in my climbing they're not going anywhere. Like I'm not going to forget how to climb. And so I don't think it's like endurance or even strength per se that's getting me up most climbs. Um,
You think it's all your post-birth breathing exercises that get you up climbs now? Because
yeah.
that's a running joke in our household now that you don't do core anymore. You just do breathing exercises every once in a while. And Sonny's always like, if I do enough breath work, will
Breathing.
I be as strong as Paige? I'm like, nope, nope. But you should keep
Maybe.
trying.
It's true. I haven't done core in 2.5 years. My core feels stronger than ever.
This is Climbing Gold. If we're since this is a climbing show, I mean that is kind of like the climbing metaphor where you're always like worried that it could be worse. We're like, what if the weather gets worse? Or like, what if the next pitch is harder? And you're kind of like, what if it gets easier? Like what if the clouds break and it's beautiful blue sky the rest of the day? You're kind of like,
Yeah,
sometimes it does get better.
that's a good point, and I'm pretty good at applying that to my climbing. Like I expect to come to each climbing session stronger than I was at the last session. Um, and
Oh,
like
I
bringing
like
that
to do the
mentality in.
opposite.
You do the opposite?
Yeah, I like to expect the worst and then be surprised when it's better.
You're
Does that work for you? It seems like it does.
I yeah, like
It
I don't
helps you go with the
know.
flow.
I think it helps me a little bit, and especially now with like having a baby and stuff. I a lot of times I expect things to not go as planned, or expect it to be, I expect to have a hard time, and then if it's easier, then I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised.
that's
That makes
probably just
sense.
a realistic outlook now as a mom. You're kind of like, well, I expect it to all go to shit. It's all going to go sideways. Like,
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's realism right now.
I mean, that's also because you're balancing all the logistics. Like you're taking Arrow out climbing. And yeah, you have
Yeah.
Walter, but still, it's like a lot of logistics. We don't take Larkin climbing for the most part because A, it's really difficult. And also, I have a lot of trouble focusing. Like when she's with me, I won't even eat or drink water. And like that doesn't work when you're trying to perform. Like you have to be able to take care of yourself. And I just seem not to be able to. Like I can only take care of her. Um, and so
Yeah. And do you think that's like, because I struggle with that too. I sort of have to force myself to, like when we took him to daycare this morning, it was really hard for me to leave him for the day. Do you think that's more like a mom thing? Is that like
that's a good
it
question.
almost feels like biological to me. Like there's this part of me that doesn't want to leave him and that doesn't want him to like be in someone else's care. And like I for a while I was like always thinking about it. It was always in my brain. Now it's gotten a little bit better just from practice. And maybe because I stopped breastfeeding, so there wasn't as many like hormones going on. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like
I think
moms struggle
so.
with
yeah, I'm like, I don't struggle with that. I'm like, here's the baby. Thank God, I'll be back in a few hours or whatever.
and that's what Adrian said. He's like, when we're not with him, I just don't even think about him. And I was like, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
I can't. That's kind of wild.
I mean, I would say after a few days, I'd be like, oh, I wonder how baby June's doing. But no, hour by hour, I'm like definitely not. Yeah, like if you're on a trip, every once in a while, you're like, man. But
Yeah, even when I'm away from her, like if we go climbing and my parents are with her, I like to receive photos. Like I want to know what she's doing.
I do too. The daycare here doesn't do that, and it stresses me out.
that's not
Yeah.
like a little psycho.
Yeah, of, it is,
I
but
mean,
like that's also realistic. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. No,
I think a lot of
Sonya,
women can
Sonya's
probably
like that
relate
too.
too, where you're just like you just want to know that your kid's okay. Like the other day we were at the gym and we got a notice on the phone that the fire alarm went off. And like our fire alarm goes off all the time because it's super sensitive. But I texted my mom, I was like, is everyone okay? So yeah, it's like a little bit psycho, but
I bet a lot of that is biological though, just from like
yeah.
the hormones of pregnancy and the nursing and like just it's just a whole different thing. I mean, I think that, and a lot of my friends who are dads have said similar things, but I mean, I think a big part of being a dad is that the relationship with your child grows over time as you sort of build a relationship with your child. It's like as you do things together, like as you sort of become friends and like hang out and play, and it's just not nearly as immediate of a link that you guys have since you actually birthed the child. It's like
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it's different. And whether it's the
I,
bonding component or the hormones or whatever, it's like,
like I definitely felt more stressed out and depleted and anxious when I was breastfeeding. It it wasn't like this super, I mean, it was, I'm glad I did it, but it wasn't like this super magical, like amazing thing for me. Once I stopped breastfeeding, I felt a lot better about everything.
I did too,
And
actually.
I
was
think
that a
that was
hormonal
really,
thing?
I think so. Like I was just
Yeah.
nervous. I was just anxious and like didn't have a whole lot of energy and was really stressed about him when I wasn't with him and all of that. And then it kind of has evened out over the last few months since I stopped.
I think it takes so much physical energy to breastfeed. It's like your body's just zapped all the time. Like all
Mm.
of your energy and nutrients are going towards making milk rather than like building muscle or whatever. Like I just didn't feel like I got much out of my training sessions. I just had no energy. Um,
Yeah, my whole body changed after.
like you can just feel it's like when you're sick and you can tell that all of your fluids are just leaving your body. They're not going towards anything productive. And that's kind of how breastfeeding felt.
Well, they're going to something productive, and the Larkin is now quite a bit bigger than she used to be.
Yeah, true, true.
So you did
It was
succeed in the main
productive.
goal. Yeah, yeah, it was super productive. It just didn't
Yeah.
help you send harder. And yet you are still actually sending harder. So that's where's the justice in that? I'm like, man.
Well, I mean, I was climbing just as hard when I was breastfeeding. I think it was more just a feeling like I felt bad. And I'd also get
Yeah,
sick a lot when I was
that's a real
breastfeeding.
question though. I mean, between pre-birth and post-birth and during nursing and everything, I mean, you've basically climbed 14 plus the whole time. No? Have you had any big up
Not
or
when
down?
I was pregnant.
But even pregnant, you climbed 13 plus, like way up until the end.
Not that's not totally true though. I climbed 13 plus when I was like 5 months pregnant, which is great. Like that's awesome and I'm proud of it, but let's be realistic.
I just mean that your hardest grades pre being a mom and your hardest grades post being a mom are basically the same or
Yeah,
harder
they're the
now.
same. They're I
And
feel
bouldering
stronger
wise,
than I ever have.
despite the immense physiological change that you go through by having a child, it seems like you've come out of it stronger and feel good and climbing well. It's like, I mean, how do you feel about that? Like talk about that, which is weird because you've had such a hard baby and you haven't slept in so long and like it's sort of counterintuitive that you're climbing harder than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like babies where you don't know what you're going to get dealt. Like they're all different. And it's the same with recovery. Like it's genetics. It's not just your own choices and performance. But I feel like I've been really lucky in that my recovery was pretty smooth. Like in the very beginning, it took a long time. Like I took it really slow and didn't feel good. Those first few weeks, I couldn't even walk. Um, but I just kind of took it for what it was. And Larkin was so fussy that we never sat down. Like my acupuncturist had a baby around the same time, and she was like, I just never sat so much, like breastfeeding and holding him. I was like, I've never been on my feet so much. Like we would just walk laps around the blocks and bounce on this ball like 24 hours a day. And so I think it was like my body was just active the whole those whole 8 months I wasn't sleeping. Um, but I think also my style of climbing, it's kind of built into my body at this point. Like I'm not doing volume. I don't need a ton of endurance. So like the skills that I apply in my climbing they're not going anywhere. Like I'm not going to forget how to climb. And so I don't think it's like endurance or even strength per se that's getting me up most climbs. Um,
You think it's all your post-birth breathing exercises that get you up climbs now? Because
yeah.
that's a running joke in our household now that you don't do core anymore. You just do breathing exercises every once in a while. And Sonny's always like, if I do enough breath work, will
Breathing.
I be as strong as Paige? I'm like, nope, nope.
Yeah,
But you should keep
maybe.
trying.
It's true. I haven't done core in 2.5 years. My core feels stronger than ever.
But you do breathe every day, and that's all it takes.
Just breathe. Yeah. No, what Alex is getting at is that when I was pregnant and then post-birth, I had these breathing exercises that are supposed to like help pull your abs back together. And I was super diligent about those. And whether that played a role or not, like it mostly made me feel like I was doing something to help myself along. And I do think it was effective, but that's what he's referring to as breathing. There's like you like tension your core like a corset as you exhale. And it was super simple, but I thought it helped a lot to kind of like re-engage my core and yeah.